Welcome back and welcome to my August wrap up. I'm filming this a couple of days earlier. As I said in my life update, I'm going to be on a plane, so I thought I'll start my September TBR on that plane, and obviously I can't film an August wrap up on the plane. I've got too many books. I'm not going to take them on the plane with me. Plus most of them are library books, so they want them back at the library. They won't like if I take them to England for 3 months. Okay, as always, I'm going to divide this into ebooks, physical books and audiobooks, and if I have written a review or done a video about any of these books, I will link it in the description box below. All of my blog, my social media, everything is always in the description box, so come and give me a follow. I chat about books everywhere, all the time, all books and other things, just everywhere on social media. You can generally find me chatting about on there somewhere. So let's get started. Okay, obviously I don't have the ebooks, so I've got my Kindle here. This is how I read them. The first book I read was If You Could See Me Now by Kerry Stainton. I wrote a review of this one and it is over on my blog, so I will link it below. The second book was a bit of a DNF for me. It was Kiss Carlo by Adriana Trigiani. I just couldn't get into this one. I read like a fifth of it and it's a mammoth book. I read about 120 pages of this and I just wasn't connecting with it, so I had to give that one up as a bad job, unfortunately. It will not put me off reading other Adriana Trigiani books in the future though, because I do love her as an author, and her kind of Italian connection is really good. Then I read The 7 Imperfect Rules of Elvira Carr, and that was by Frances Maynard. I have a review of this one on the blog, so I will link it down below. And that's all the ebooks I read this month. It was all very much physical, and that's kind of what I said it was going to be at the start of the month, so I'm quite pleased with that. Yeah, two and a quarter-ish. So on to the physical books. The most recent one I read was Headscarves and Hymens by Mona Elfway. The sticker's covering it up. Libraries, don't put your sticker over the author. Mona Elfway. Why the Middle East Needs a Sexual Revolution. I haven't reviewed this one yet, so look out on my blog for my review of that one. And then I also just finished reading 7 Days of You by Cecilia Vaness. This author has dual UK-US citizenship, which I found quite interesting. And so she knows a little bit about only having a matter of time left in the US before you have to leave, or a matter of time left somewhere else before you have to leave, which is the position I'm in right now. Then I read What to Say Next by Julie Buxbaum. When I come down to my audiobooks, you'll see why I read this one. I absolutely loved this one, but I haven't written a review of it yet, so look out for that one coming soon. Then I read Chase the Rainbow by Paula Bell. I did this as a buddy read with Hayley. I will link Hayley's channel down below, and I will link our video that we made. We made a collab review of this one. I will link it up here somewhere so you can click on it and watch it. I might also put it in the description box as well so that you can see it if you missed it. This was a non-fiction book. Then I read Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. This was another buddy read I read, and I think I want to make a whole video talking about this one because I really enjoyed the diversity of it. This is a young adult book, but it's very diverse. You've got all sorts of things represented in this book that you just don't have in other books, YA or non-YA, and so I think it's quite an important book for people to read, and it was just really good. Then I read One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. I really enjoyed this book as well. This is kind of, it says on the end here it's mystery. I would say it's definitely contemporary, YA contemporary, and it is a bit of a mystery, but it's also very realistic and very easy to relate to, and that's all I'm going to say about that one. Then I read Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. I'd been wanting to read this one for ages, and it was just really sweet, and I really enjoyed reading it, and I want to eat gelato and pastries and drink espresso, so it's probably a good idea that I read this so quickly, because if I'd eked it out over many days, I would have just been eating constantly. Then we go on to the books I read during Bouter Books. Having Bouter Books at the end of the month was great for me because, as I said, I wanted to read these library books before it was time for me to go back to the UK and I had to give them back. So it was really good to kind of blast through some books to be able to take them back to the library. So I read Happily Ever After, which is by Kira Cass, and it is the 4 novellas that go with the selection series, just the first 3 books in the selection series. We've got The Queen, The Guard, The Favourite, and The Prince. Had a little mental block there. And there's also some other bonus material in this one, and this one also has, I mean, it's got a map in the front, and thank you library for being able to open it up there. It has a map in the front, and then it's got some really, really gorgeous illustrations throughout as well. Now I can't find one. There it is. How lovely is that? I think The Queen was probably my favourite one, but I really enjoyed reading The Favourite as well. Wasn't so keen on The Guard, but it gave me some good insights. So, yep, another book down. And then I read Zen Diagram by Wendy Brandt, and I love this one. I think I'm definitely going to make a video about this one, so look out for that one coming soon. And the next book I read this all in one day, and that is A New Model by Ashley Graham. I didn't know an awful lot about Ashley Graham, except that she's a plus size model, and I've seen some of her swimsuits on Swimsuits for All. So this was really interesting to read, and she was really honest in it, and I love when people are honest and you can tell they're not really holding back in their books. So that was a good one to read. It was quite a quick read as well. And then I read Because You Love to Hate Me, which is by various YA authors, and bits in there by various booktubers. They're probably bookstagrammers as well. Booktubers, book bloggers, and it's 13 short stories, and it's about villainy and bad guys, and yeah, I really enjoyed some of the reads in here. Some of them were just a little bit too fantasy for me, and so I didn't finish them all, but I read the kind of story behind them from the booktubers, and that was really, really interesting to read. Then we move on to audiobooks. I read, no, it's too far down. I read Tell Me 3 Things, which was also by Julie Buxbaum, and that's what made me want to read the other book by her, and I just loved Tell Me 3 Things. Sorry, my foot's going to sleep a little bit here. I loved it so much. It was such a sweet love story. It was so cute. If you haven't read it and you're in the mood for a sweet read, then definitely pick that one up. I definitely preferred that one out of the 2 that I read by that author. And then, of course, I read the final 3 books in the I Heart series by Lindsay Kelk. I listened to I Heart Vegas, I Heart London, and I Heart Christmas. I read these ones. I listened to them all, even though I have the physical copies of those ones. I did listen to them on audiobook because once I'd started with that narrator, it was such a good narrator. I kind of felt like I was in Angela's world listening to that narrator, and so I wanted to kind of stick with her and not go back to the narrator in my own head. Then I listened to The House of Secrets by Sarah Manning. I did review this one on my blog already, so I will leave a link to that one down below. And then I listened to Mammoth audiobook. This one was so long. The book itself is like between 500 and 600 pages, which is just longer than anything I read, really. And that was The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. Now, this might seem like a different choice for me. You haven't heard me read anything else by Stephanie Meyer, but it's basically somebody in my book group said, oh, Catriona, I'd love to hear what you thought of this book, and you know, let me know your thoughts. And so I was like, oh, they've got it on audiobook in my library, I'll download it, I'll give it a listen. And then another one I read on a recommendation was When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead. I was recommended this one by James, who I was doing the buddy read of Ramona Blue with, so I'll link his channel down below for you, and that was definitely an interesting read. and then I listened to Boy Meets Boy by David Levithan because I've been meaning to read this one for a very long time, so it was good to finally get that one read. I listened to that all in one sitting, just like When You Reach Me, I listened to that all at once as well, so that gave me a really good start to the readathon. Then I read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, listened to that one on audiobook, which was really interesting. I thought the narrator did a really good job with that one as well, because it's set in Glasgow and some of them have Glaswegian accents and some of them don't, and so it's interesting to kind of switch between the two, and always interesting to hear the conversations take place between somebody with an accent and somebody with a different accent, and the narrator did a really good job with that one. And then another different choice for me, I was clearly feeling a bit wild with my audiobook choices this month because I read things that weren't on my TBR. That's better. And that was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I'd been meaning to read it for a while. I saw that my library had it on audiobook, so I was just like, nah, download it. And I listened to it all whilst I was packing my suitcase to go back to the UK, which was fun because I was like, does this bring me joy? I'm not taking it with me then. And it'll be interesting to come back and kind of put some of that into practice when I come back, because I'm figuring that if I haven't missed it when I've been back in the UK, maybe I don't need it. Then I listened to Hunger by Roxane Gay. This was an amazing listen, and I'd wanted to read it for ages, and I was on the wait list on the library for it, and then it just wasn't coming and wasn't coming and wasn't coming, so I bought it on Audible and I was able to listen to it again. I listened to it all in one sitting. I basically listened to this one just on Saturday morning, just sat in bed doing other things, and yeah, I found myself agreeing with things she was saying, so I had my headphones on and I was going, yes, oh yeah, definitely, which is nice that it had such a powerful reaction from me. So that is what I read in the month of August. I read more audiobooks than I was expecting to, and I got through most of the library books that I wanted to as well. One of them that I was intending on reading had to go back to the library, and another of them I'm pretty much next on the wait list for the audiobook, so I'll be able to listen to the audiobook rather than reading the physical book. But yeah, generally I am happy with the reading that I did, and now I have to try and take a thumbnail picture with all of these books, and I'm just not sure if it's going to happen, so we'll see how I get on with that. I will have my September TBR, not TBR, I mean, you know, if somebody wants to give me a TBR, that's fine. I will have my September TBR video for you up on Thursday. It will probably pop up while I'm in the air, so that's exciting. And yes, then I will have some tag videos and things for you, some exciting things that I've filmed with this background ready to go back to the UK so that you won't have different backgrounds. Tell you what is coming up next week is my 100 subscriber / 1 year anniversary booktube video and giveaway, so definitely look out for that one soon. If you're not already subscribed, click the subscribe button and then I will appear in your subscription feed with the giveaway for you and my kind of thank you for a year on booktube video. So yes, I will see you in my TBR. Bye bye.